I'm back.
What is up, Tampa Bay? I hope everybody is staying happy and healthy emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. I'm Chuck Turgeon, the most hype man you will meet in the street, here to get you in the know about tonight's show. Coming up, Michael will be talking sports, or should I say, in light of COVID, the lack of sports. Dr. Lee Dorpfeld is back to delve deeper into how the postponement of sports has affected fans and athletes from an emotional standpoint. And we're talking diversity and disabilities with Mark Oliver of Specially Fit and Rene Warmack and Sam Piazza from the documentary Because of Sam. And we head into the field for another informative session with Aero Environmental. And now, for your host, the always magical Michael Clayton!
Hey, we're talking sports today. Thank you so much for coming back and joining me on Michael Clayton Live. Listen, sports. Has anybody seen them? NBA basketball, buzzer, game over. Major League Baseball, you're out. Hockey, put on ice. COVID is so cold. And football. Maybe just like a Buccaneers kicker. No good. Tom the GOAT Brady, the great Rob Gronkowski arrives in Tampa Bay, and we may not have a football season. And if these sports come back in some condensed form, will there even be fans in the stands? I mean, a football game with no fans, I'm going to have to sit down for this one. Somebody please pour me a drink right now. We are actually watching video games in place of live action sports. I mean, if you're watching this pitiful excuse of a replacement, you need to get a life, not a better life, but a life, because you're dead. You know it's bad when black people have to watch NASCAR. The Buccaneers recently released photos of Tom Brady in his Buccaneers uniform. I don't know what inspired the jersey change, but it sure is gonna feel good not to look at a player jersey and think of a digital clock. Okay? Didn't Tom Brady look like a high school senior at Berkeley? Didn't he look good? Man, this Tampa water and sun gave him his youth back. I like it. It's finally real. A real picture of Tom Brady. I mean, what's also real is we haven't been to the playoffs since I played in 2007. Hello. I mean, I've had 4 kids since then. 2 dogs and a fish from the fair. Please, my Tampa Bay Buccaneers, don't curry the goat. Now, you know, if your goat is being curried, he's gone. He's out of here. Don't run the goat out of here. Don't curry the goat. But all kidding aside, listen, I am so excited to have Tom Brady on this team because this is a guy that has the power to unite a state, and that is what we need at this time. So I couldn't be happier to welcome Tom Brady to our city, and I know a lot of fans share the same sentiment. So Tom, don't break a leg, brother. Like Chuck mentioned, we have a great show ahead. See you on the flip side. If you missed our first episode of Michael Clayton Live, you missed our guest, Dr. Lee Dorpfeld, who talked about dealing with anxiety and stress from COVID and social unrest. But since this show, we are also talking about sports, and we wanted to show you more of our conversation in relation to stress on college and professional athletes. Let's take a look. Doc, as we continue our conversations, sports has really become such an escape for people. And, it also has become unity. People are united, one common goal, cheering for their team.
Sure.
And, it has the power to unite a nation. What has sports done to people as sports has been taken away because of COVID? What's been the response?
I think it's like a grief, right? It's like a loss. I would not necessarily equate it to losing a close family member, but for some people it is. If it's your business, then it definitely is. If you have businesses surrounded by sports and stuff like that, it could be that. Yeah. But I think it's a general feeling of grief and loss. And I think for a lot of people, it's about going through those similar stages that if there was a death in the family kind of thing, or a long separation. And I think when you start to have those conversations, that's the way people can put it into words. Right. It's like, I can deal with an off season, right? I'm good. I can wait 6 months, we're ready to go again. But we don't know if it's 6 months, right, or is it 9 months, or are we gonna not have a season? And I don't know what to do with my Friday night when I used to go out with the guys or whatever, is, take my kids to the games, those kind of things. So there's that real sense of grief and loss that people are experiencing, that they're just starting to kind of figure out how to put into words. And then we have that process to go through, right, to deal with it.
Right. Now, you've worked with professional athletes and college athletes, and on the pro level, you're kind of independent. You're on your own. Right. College athletes need structure. They need commands. They need to be told what to do, when to do it, or because we're young, I was once in that boat as well. What is the structure like now? Because, we're not gathering. Right. Athletes are on their own, or are they on their own, or sure, do colleges still have that control factor?
So you and I, have been talking a little bit off camera about the different ways different places do things and how kind of we play a little bit of follow the leader in sports. Right. We're not as unstructured as a lot of people may think. A lot of coaches and a lot of sports are having regular meetings with their players. They're setting up Zoom calls or Microsoft Teams or any of those kind of things that are available. And they're getting on calls with either position groups or whole teams on our smaller teams, those kind of things. And what's going on kind of around the country is coaches are staying connected in the ways that they can. The NCAA, in terms of college, has been pretty flexible with the amount of hours they can interact and giving some more time to be able to do that. Right. So the structure that we can provide is still being someplace on time. And then you have the situation where it's like, we have some expectations, some things you got to do, and we have a way to monitor that. So some of that structure is built in. And again, the good and the bad, right? And then there's this opportunity that I think's good, but kind of hard, which is building that interpersonal relationship, especially if you have a newer coaching staff, right? If you have a newer coaching staff who didn't have time to start to build some of those relationships, now it becomes conversations, it becomes text, the things that you need to do to start kind of build them, but it's not sitting down like you and I are right now, right, just kind of having a conversation about a whole bunch of different things, getting to know each other and doing that. And that's what builds those bonds among players on any given team, as well as between the coaches and the players, to build that unity that we usually see in our championship teams.
Right. I want to switch gears a little bit. As a white man, working with African American athletes, especially at this time, mm-hmm, in the wake of George Floyd's death.
Sure.
As a professional, do you ever find yourself in a position where you don't have the answers when someone is coming to you for something in regards to race relationships? Like, as a white man, do you feel like you are prepared enough to help an African American through tough times mentally? Like, what does that look like?
So, great question, and I'm glad you posed it. I think one of the things that goes along with being the most important in this space right now is being willing to listen and learn, right? As a white man, I have to accept the fact that there's privilege and there's things that I've had and been exposed to or had opportunities that are very different. But I think that one of the things that's most important is to be willing to listen and learn. One of the benefits, I think, of our training and things like that is the fact that we're taught active listening. We're taught those skills. So let's sit down, let's have a conversation. I'm willing to learn if you're willing to teach. Yeah. Let's kind of get into that space and learn together and then come up with what seems to be good next steps for you to take. And I'm going to make a mistake once in a while. Right. Like, I'm going to own the fact that I'm not going to get it right every time. We're going to have misses. We're going to have strikeouts. We're going to have drop passes. But the reality is, in life, just as in sports, sometimes that ability to miss is so small.
Yeah.
So the better prepared we can be. That's what I tell our young men and women, especially our young women and men of color, is, the issues out there are so big. Try not to be impulsive in your responses. think them out, talk to people, talk to the people you trust, gain more information, then go out there and take your platform and say what you got to say and do what you got to do. Yeah, absolutely. It's the impulsive stuff that tends to be stuff that's hard to come back from.
Well, Doc, thank you for your time, spending a little extra moments with me to kind of dive into some hot topics. I never want to make anybody uncomfortable, but I really appreciate your willingness to be honest and transparent with our viewers. Thank you so much.
Your quality of life is impacted by pests trying to make your home their home.
At Aero Environmental Services, we keep your family and pets safe from unwanted pests. To learn more, visit aeroservices.com and schedule your free total home pest evaluation today.
Aero Environmental Services provides effective pest control that improves your quality of life so you can truly relax and enjoy yourself with friends and family.
My first guest today is a former USF football player who earned his spot on the team as a walk-on after he was previously cut. He was the first in the family to earn a college degree, and after being ranked as one of the top CrossFit athletes in the country, he created a nonprofit program called Specially Fit that trains people with intellectual disabilities how to effectively stay safe year-round. And now he's also looking to serve the public as a Florida State Representative in District 70, which serves the residents in St. Pete and parts of Manatee and Southeast Hillsborough County. Please welcome Mark Oliver. Now, Mark, I want to get right into it. Now, we're definitely at a turning point in society in regards to race relations, and I think this also has put a spotlight on the importance of state and local governments, because they have the direct impact on our communities, law enforcement, educational funding. Kind of explain to me defunding police, because to me, a person like myself, it makes absolutely no sense. We need police officers. We just need them to do a better job.
I agree with you. When I heard that term defunding the police at first, I was like, there's no way this can happen. Instead of defunding the police, what it really means is reallocating funds. You know, it's not about we want to get rid of police officers. We need police officers in our streets. We need them in our community. It just goes that we don't need tanks. We don't need police cars that have brand new chargers, swimming pools, fitness facilities. Instead of using that money, we should allocate that funding towards mental health, towards education, after school programs for our youth. You know, in some areas, police officers can be a cop at the age of 18. And
really
they're, with a high school degree. And they're gonna go out there and they're gonna talk to a grown man, grown woman about mental health on a dispatch call. We need to allocate those funds to have a trained professional in mental health counseling. Go there to that house and help those individuals. Reallocate, and we talk about defunding. We've been defunding education for the last hundreds of years.
Right. And another subject, as I mentioned in the opening, is your organization, Specially Fit. So tell me a little bit about that organization and the things you do outside the realm of being a public servant.
Yeah, so that's actually what got me to become a public servant, was my organization. So Specially Fit is an organization that provides year-round workouts and sporting opportunities to over 400 kids with disabilities. And it's 100% free of cost. Yeah. And this is the reason why I got into this race. You know, I met a young kid 2 years ago who had a disability. I never knew anyone in my life who had a disability. And this young kid became my best friend. He lost 40 pounds in a month, got on a bike for the first time, and got involved in the Special Olympics, where we built one of the largest Special Olympics teams in Hillsborough County history. And now at the position where we are today, working with 400 individuals, I've seen how overlooked this community was. You know, in this special needs community, we're ranked 50th in the nation. We're talking about reallocating funds too. We're ranked at the bottom of the nation here. And every year they try to cut their funding more and more to the most loving community. And we need a voice for them.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Mark,
Thank you
for being that voice and stepping in and filling in and speaking to the powers that be to make sure that those resources are given to our people with disabilities. Really quick, has COVID impacted your organization any?
Yes, it has. COVID has impacted our organization in the sense, especially the individuals we work with. A lot of them love social interaction. They love when we come and provide our fitness program, because most of the time, this community, like many others, has been overlooked and doesn't have a lot of friends. Right. So being stuck in a house because they have a weak immune system has truly impacted them. And we work with kids in the foster care, just like you do as well. And we know with COVID, a lot of these kids are stayed at home. And if you haven't been paying the numbers, the child abuse and domestic abuse has gone up because these kids can't get out of their house. Yeah. And they can't interact with one another. So that's something else we have to pay attention to with COVID.
Right. Well, I did not know that you were a CrossFitter. I've learned that, but I've been highly in tune to articles, and obviously one of the big topics across the country is what the CEO of CrossFit mentioned about George Floyd, how he wasn't mourning and his staff members weren't mourning. And, you know, I have to ask, you're the first person that I've met in person that is actually dedicated to CrossFitting. As a black man, or just as an affiliate, how did you take the words that he said, and how will you move forward in representing CrossFit, knowing that the CEO is not sensitive to what's going on in our world?
Exactly. And for some people who are just watching, the CEO of CrossFit is Greg Glassman.
Okay.
He made a tweet demeaning George Floyd's murder. And CrossFit is a multi-billion-dollar industry that has a platform of tons of people that they could have made a huge difference about what's going on in the world right now. And after Greg Glassman made this tweet that he did, many affiliates dropped the name CrossFit. Reebok has dropped CrossFit. Rogue has dropped the name CrossFit. And for me, it hurts because CrossFit is a sport that was my life. And there's not many minorities in it. And I personally have nothing to do with CrossFit anymore. And I've encouraged my gym owner friends to not affiliate with it. Yeah. You're paying this man at the end of the day. Right. He's getting that check. Every year you're paying $3,000 for that affiliate fee.
Right. And I know as people who own CrossFit gyms, it's very difficult to make a decision like that. But it's also tough to do the right thing. And it takes people with the courage to make the tough decision to do what's right. I think that that's what our country is facing right now, the tough decisions to do what's right. Just as Mark's mission is to change the community and acceptance through fitness, love, and discipline, my next guests, Rene Warmack and Sam Piazza, are transforming how the world views people with disabilities through their documentary, Because of Sam. Stay tuned.
Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and to see expanded interviews, subscribe to our YouTube channel at Michael Clayton Live.
Honey, look at our neighbors. They're out in their backyard again, barbecuing with friends, and their kids are playing outside.
They use Aero Environmental Services. I would love to go out in our yard more, but every time we do, we get eaten alive by mosquitoes and the kids get bit by fire ants.
Maybe we should call Aero Environmental Services too.
If you want to take back your yard from unwanted pests, contact the folks at Aero Environmental Services Pest Control. With same-day service in most areas, you can start enjoying a pest-free lifestyle tomorrow.
Come on, Sam, you gotta pick it up now.
No way. No way. Tice O'Neil?
Yeah, man.
No way.
How you doing?
Well, you just saw a small teaser from the documentary Because of Sam, when one of Sam's heroes, WWE superstar Titus O'Neil, surprised him during his workout at the YMCA. Joining me is the producer of that documentary, Ms. Rene Warmack, and the star of Because of Sam, Mr. Sam Piazza. Thank you both for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
We are so excited to have you both here. Rene, how did you actually meet Sam? I'm so interested.
Well, I didn't know Sam at all. I saw his face in the Tampa Tribune about 10 years ago, and he had won Homecoming King at Gaither High School, right down the street from where I went to school at Chamberlain, and I was just astounded by the story. Sam has Down syndrome, and it was just something that it just spoke to my heart, that I had already produced a couple documentary films, and I thought, you know what, this would make an amazing story that would help inspire the world.
Yes. Sam, I've heard that you have a little thing with the ladies a little bit, man, but did you think that you could ever win a prom? Was Homecoming King?
Well, I did have to wait with the ladies when I was young in my teenage years, but being the Homecoming King was like the best thing that ever happened to me, because people just saw my character. It really got me thinking about what I can do, and based on my ability and my talents, I have a girlfriend now. I been with about almost 2 years.
Things are looking good for you.
Yeah.
I like it. Renee, what is the message you want people to learn from this film?
Well, this is a story that transforms how the world views people with disabilities. It's a homegrown story about a hometown hero right here in Tampa, Florida. And Sam's movie, Because of Sam, really teaches about inclusion in the workplace. It teaches what this family did at a very early age in order to help Sam succeed, and the broader community and the social services that also helped him. But it really tells the story about the passion that Sam has in his heart to be an example and an advocate and to speak out as an adult at 30 years old now.
Yes, and Sam, with your newfound career in acting and doing those things, you're going to meet a lot of people. Our last guest, Mark Oliver, talked about the importance of fitness for people with disabilities. And Sam, you had a workout at the YMCA. Yeah. Were you surprised to see Titus show up at your workout?
Oh yeah, it was real awesome. When I first saw him, it was like, here's this guy, and he's wearing my movie shirt, and it was like, I had this huge reaction when I first saw him.
That's awesome. And Titus is actually in the documentary.
He is in the documentary. Very, very generous, humble human, and we're so glad to have him here in Tampa. You know, when he walked in there and Sam saw him, it was just such a magical moment. Sam loves WWE, so I really wanted to have a special moment where he was able to see a star like WWE superstar Titus O'Neil with his shirt on.
Yes.
And it just came off beautifully, and we were appreciative of that.
How do you plan on kind of like promoting the film and making sure that this film is seen worldwide? Because just watching a few minutes of the documentary on the teaser, you know, it brings me to tears, and know how powerful Sam's story can be to young people and older people. What is that process going to look like for you to get the word out?
Sure, and I can tell you, we were in the middle of showing the movie, getting funded screenings. We sold out Tampa Theater last year with the initial screening. And so we were really going out. Sam goes with me, and we speak and show the movie. It's a 50-minute documentary. So the big end goal now, with everybody staying at home, watching from home, is certainly to get it on video on demand.
Yes.
And so getting any kind of a movie is hard. It's an indie film. So we made it, and now the extra steps we need to take to get it distributed through video on demand, there's some more steps that need to take place. And these things take money. Yeah. So becauseofsam.com is where people can see the trailer and also get all the information about the movie in ways that they could possibly support our efforts.
Yeah. And Sam, you are a leader. You are a leader for those people right now. Yes. And I just want to say thank you, man. Thank you for your transparency. I'm so happy that you're able to live your life and be around people who know how impactful you are and the difference that you can make in our country, man. Thank you for being Sam, and it's so amazing. And I can't wait to see the full documentary, Renee. Thank you so much.
Look forward to showing it to you.
Absolutely. When we come back, I get out of the studio and meet up with my friends at Arrow Environmental Services to show you how you can keep your lawn healthy, and especially during the rainy season. We'll be right back.
How do you protect yourself and others from coronavirus?
Avoid touching your eyes, your nose, and your mouth.
Wash your hands often with soap and water for 20+ seconds.
Clean and disinfect surfaces and objects.
Together, we can help slow the spread.
On today's segment, we're going to talk about the challenges so many Florida homeowners face having a healthy green lawn. Joining me in this segment is Jeremy Monell, Director of Field Technical Operations with Arrow Environmental Services. Jeremy, tell us about your background in lawns and some tips that we can keep a healthy lawn.
Well, I've been in the lawn industry for about 25 years now. The number one thing for any lawn is proper maintenance, proper mowing, proper watering, and just knowing what to look for when there might be some stresses to the turf that you might need to troubleshoot. One of those, obviously, is we were recently in a drought. We've kind of come out of that now. Is the drought stress on the lawn. A lot of people don't understand that during a long period of drought, you're going to have areas of the lawn that are going to dry out, and right next to it might be lush and green. Well, a lot of times you're going to look for areas around sidewalks, the street, places like that where there's a heat source. Maybe your irrigation is just not hitting that area enough or putting enough water in that area. Even though the area might be receiving water visually, is it getting enough water to that area? So those are a few areas to look for. It'll be kind of a blue cast color. You can step on it and the footprints don't pop right back up. The blades will fold in and kind of start curling up. So those are things to look for. So those will be stressed areas on the lawns. So making sure you're getting proper irrigation is the number one thing. Secondly, obviously, is mowing. There's several different turf types we deal with. St. Augustine is probably the most prevalent through the state of Florida, which this here is St. Augustine turf. Probably 90% of our turf is St. Augustine turf. St. Augustine should be mowed at 3 to 4 inches. And that can change depending on the thickness of the turf, how thatchy, how spongy the turf is. As you can see here, this lawn's a little spongy. So what I usually gauge this by is top of my knuckle. I got an average size hand, so the top of my knuckle is generally going to be about 4 inches. So that's going to be key to making sure you're mowing your turf St. Augustine turf at the proper heights. Another most important thing is a sharp mower blade. I can't stress that enough. When you're dealing with mowing turf, you need a nice clean cut so it kind of seals off that area. If not, you're going to get shredded leaf tissue at the tips. And with that shredded leaf tissue, those areas are going to turn brown and die back as far as that split. Well, that's going to give you that kind of that brown tint to the grass after mowing. So you can do that with a dull mower blade, or cutting it too short, or cutting it maybe when it's too wet. It slows the mower blade down. So having a sharp blade is extremely important. Those are the two main maintenance things where you really got to focus on when it comes to having a healthy green lawn.
Now, Jeremy, for the past 7 years, I've cut my own grass, and for some reason, I came up with the concept that the lower I cut it, the less often I have to cut it. And what I'm hearing is that just may not be true.
No, that's not true. That's a practice of a lot of homeowners because they don't want to cut it on a weekly basis. In all actuality, St. Augustine can probably be cut every 3 to 5 days to keep that mowing height. You never really want to cut more than a third of that leaf tissue off when you mow your grass. So you got to think of how quick our grasses grow, especially in the summer, especially during the rainy season. You really want to keep no more than a third of that grass blade cut. Because if you cut more than that, you run the risk of shredding that leaf tissue just like with a dull mower blade, because you're just trying to get through that thick grass, which is just going to slow that blade down and create some problems for you.
Well, if you service your lawn like me, we want you, the viewers, to get involved. If you have any questions about pests of any kind or want more information about the topics we discussed on the program, simply go to arrowservices.com/Michael and drop us a line.
Thank you all for watching the Michael Clayton Live Show. Join us next week where Michael and his guests will be talking about hunger in America. Please support our show by following us on Facebook and Instagram and subscribing to our YouTube channel. See you all next week.